Okay. Okay, is Rabbi Jacobson on?
Rabbi Jacobson is here.
All right, 9 o'clock. So welcome everybody to my extended family. Let me just tell you a little bit about what my extended family is. So we started my extended family a few years ago, and the purpose was because we saw a lot of single parent children, and it's very difficult and very challenging, extremely challenging sometimes to be a single parent. It's always challenging to be a parent, but to be a single parent means you have compounded problems. So what we did was we created this organization called My Extended Family, and it evolved. And what we're dealing with is primarily children of divorce, also children of orphans. But what we have is we have programs going on in 4 locations currently. That is in Monsey, in 5 towns, in Flatbush, and in Crown Heights. And God willing, we'll be opening up more of them as time goes on. And what we do is the kids come to a program. The kids come to an event, a program that they get to experience together with a program director. Great fun programs in each location. And they get to experience just connecting with other kids like them in group sessions. And then we have clinical directors. Welcome to Rabbi Danny Drandoff, who over here, he is the clinical director. And we have a bunch of clinical directors and different people working with the kids. And our goal is to support the parents in their work. Our goal is to say to a parent that you're absolutely incredible for being a parent. You're a hero, and we're here to support you and to bring what it takes and to help you behind the scene. We advocate for children in any way we possibly can. So I'd like to encourage anybody, if you have not yet, if you live in one of those 4 areas in Monsey, Flatbush, 5 towns, or Crown Heights, please, register your child, myef.org on this website. You can register your children. And if you live anywhere else, we have different social media avenues by which we reach out to different kids, the people. I'd love to encourage you to send us your email, put us on the list, and join us. Tonight's event, well, we're now in a unique situation due to this corona, and that's compounded the issue of parenting and single parenting and brought more challenges than we ever could imagine. And we're actually all in the same boat, but single parents have a much more difficult time than anybody else. So we're here to help, and we're here to support. And we asked Rabbi Jacobson to join us tonight and to give us some insight so that we should be able to appreciate from the, the vantage point of what is it that a person has to do. This is not therapy tonight. It's more the understanding, the Hasidic dimension behind it as to why it is what God does with us and how we can handle the adversity that we face. They say there was one of the students of the Maggid of Mezrich, who was a student of the Baal Shem Tov himself. So one of the students, famously known as Reb Zusha of Anipoli. Now this Reb Zusha, he was a great tzaddik. Reb Melech and Reb Zusha are very well known. Reb Zusha of Anipoli was a scholar of unreal proportions, obviously more than any one of us could imagine. But Reb Zusha of Anipoli somehow was not quite on the same level as scholarliness as his colleagues. Piety, tzidkus, he was a great tzaddik, but he wasn't quite on the same level of learnedness, scholarliness. So he once saw 2 of his friends who were learning and he couldn't understand, and he cried to God and he davened, he says, God, help me that I should be able to daven, like my, to understand Torah like my friends. So one day, Reb Zusha of Anipoli was wondering, and he said, Almighty God, why is it that you made it that some people are able to understand so quickly and other people have a challenging time like myself? And then he looked and he realized, he turns to heaven and he says, when I get to heaven, they will not ask of me, Zusha, why weren't you like my friend Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchev, why weren't you like the Balatanya? Why weren't you like your brother, Melech Milizhensk? Why weren't you like the great Reb Aaron of Karlin? They will ask me one question and one question only, and that is, Zusha, why were you not Zusha? Zusha Anipoli. Each of us faces their own challenges and their own adversities, and God believes in you. God believes in each of us as a hero, and it is a wonder. It is an incredible thing to be able to be just you. And when you are a single parent, you're a hero. You're unreal because God believes in you. Thank you for the thumbs up. God believes in the power of you, absolutely. And we're just here to say to you that despite that adversity, which you didn't choose, but you're absolutely incredible. And God help us, so we should be able to raise a real generation more than we could ever imagine, better than we could ever imagine. And all that is up to all of us as educators and as parents. And we're very excited to have Rabbi YY Jacobson to address us today. I just want to say, no pressure anybody, but it's a lot easier to speak when people actually show their faces. If few people are willing to take the plunge and to actually open up their videos, no pressure, you don't have to. But if you do, it is so much easier to talk to a screen where you see human interaction and you actually see the people over there, and those are the advantages of Zoom. But don't feel under any pressure, anybody. And if you would like to ask any questions on the chat, so the questions were sent in before, but if anyone would like to ask on the chat on the side, please feel free to do so. And without further ado, thank you to my good friend, Rabbi YY Jacobson. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Yosef Vigler, the founder, together with Rebbetzin Vigler, of my extended family. And thank you for the thrilling privilege and great schus and opportunity to be able to address all of you who are gathered here this evening via our Zoom chat. And as Rabbi Vigler mentioned, I will make a presentation, and then afterwards we will open up the floor to any questions. We already received quite a few questions before the class, but if you haven't sent in your question, you can write your question on chat here on the Zoom. If you're watching via the website, if you're watching via the yeshiva.net, this lecture, so you could see on the right side of the video, you can ask your question there, and God willing, we will afterwards go to the questions. Anybody can ask whatever they'd like, and we'll try to address it. Be'ezer Hashem. Let me just make sure everything is good here on our side. Okay. First of all, it behooves me to express very profound appreciation on behalf, really, of all the Jewish people to an organization like this, of my extended family, which is so instrumental in being there in so many ways for single parents, for their children, under circumstances which are often difficult, challenging, sometimes painful. And thank you to you, Rabbi Vigler. Thank you to you, Rebbetzin Vigler, and to the 25 Kanayan Hara staff members that work continuously and daily, this organization of my extended family, which, as you just heard, has already 4 branches in 4 major Jewish communities, including one here where I'm speaking to you from, Monsey, New York, and the other 3 branches, and always seeking to expand and grow. The work of my extended family is amazing, inspiring, incredible, moving, and sorely and surely needed. And a real big thank you to the founders, to the sponsors, to the benefactors, to everybody involved, to all of the parents, to all of the children, to all of the many volunteers. It's amazing, and it's incredible what you do. Our theme this evening is single parenting during the coronavirus pandemic. The stress, the anxiety, dealing with this situation and emerging from it in a more wholesome way, as a more wholesome family, as a happier family. I'm going to share with you a few points which I hope might be helpful to some of you, maybe most of you, maybe all of you. And as I said, then we'll open it up to a dialogue, which may be even more important than my thoughts and feelings that I would like to share with you from what I think is from a sound Jewish perspective, Torah perspective on these situations. Number one, forgive me if I'm stating the obvious, but it's still good to reiterate, to emphasize, to hear it sometimes from somebody else and so forth. The first thing I have to acknowledge, and I got this email from somebody today, so that's why I'm acknowledging it even more, but I have to acknowledge the following fact. Somebody wrote to me an email. He is a single parent, and he writes to me, Rabbi Jacobson, how do you know about single parenting? Rabbi Jacobson, are you soon going to give classes on how to start giving natural births and how to start giving birth in this way or that way? He says, obviously not. It'll be a mockery. You're a man. What do you know about giving birth? Stick to your subjects. And this man was communicating with me. How do you know about this? Like, what gives you a right to talk about this? And the truth is that he is right. There is this voice of people signing up. I'm wondering if, Rabbi Vigler, you can shut it off. It's just everyone who signs in makes a nice sound. And I'm wondering if there's a way just to mute those who sign in. We're very happy that you're signing in. It's just for ADDs. It's a little difficult. Okay, if you find a way, we usually don't have this by the Zoom, so there's probably a way. Here we go again. Welcome, 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 welcome. We're happy that you're here. Just the sound. Maybe I could shut it off. I don't know. Okay. Mazel tov. Welcome. There has to be a way. I'm just looking on this. We'll resume in a moment. I'm going to lower the volume by me because it's disturbing me. 1 second. Okay. I lowered the volume on my computer, so I hope I'll be able to deal with it better. I won't hear it. So this person writes to me, how can I speak about single parenting if I don't have the experience myself? And the person's comment is 100% true. The prerequisite in every conversation about this topic is the need for me or people similar to me to acknowledge how little I know in terms of the experience of this. And never, ever can I put myself in somebody else's place if I'm not in their place. Never judge a person until you don't reach his space. And as the Sfas Emes says, you're not going to reach his place. And that means there's always a need for humility. I say this to you specifically for a reason. I am sure throughout the year, now, after Corona, before Corona, on the telephone, or any other way of communication, people often will give you advice, will share their feelings with you, will share their insights or wisdom with you. Many of them have good intentions. Some of them will ask you, how you doing? And they'll expect a certain answer. And very often, many of them simply do not know what you're experiencing. They may mean well, but they simply don't have the experience. They don't know what it is. And because they don't know what it is, they may say things that can be hurtful, insensitive, clueless, baseless, meaningless. And it's important for you to understand that and to not to get flustered and angry and frustrated every time it happens. It's almost like you have to smile inside and say, okay, here we go again. I say this because it's important to acknowledge this. And when you can prepare for it beforehand and you know that it's coming, it's easier to deal with it. So why am I speaking to you today? The reason I speak to you today is as an individual who has the privilege of sharing with many Jews and many communities around the world the infinite depth and wisdom of Torah, of Chassidus, of Hashkafa, of Machshava, of Jewish spirituality and Jewish wisdom, and hearing from a lot of Jews their experiences, their stories, including from many single parents or children who grew up in such homes. So I bring to you the wisdom that I have gleaned from many others, from many students, disciples, constituents, friends, mentors, who have shared with me about these experiences, including, of course, the wisdom of Torah itself, how it can apply to these situations. But I know very well, as all of us should know, that there are certain things I, like some of my colleagues who haven't had this experience, will never understand. And it's important for people who go through situations to acknowledge that. And therefore, to cut people slack and understand sometimes people make comments and they don't really know what they're talking about. And you have to know who to turn to for advice, people who get it, people who can be real confidants, people who can be real friends, and people who are sensitive and empathetic to the experience of single parenting. That's number one by way of introduction. I now come to number two. Single parenting is, I don't have to tell this to the people gathered here, has its unique challenges. As Rabbi YY just mentioned, all parenting has unique challenges. Single parenting has an extra burden of profound challenges. Obviously, this lecture, which is not being given by a professional therapist, and I know my extended family has a lot of therapists who help out children and parents, single parents, whether mothers or fathers, in their situations as best as they can. This is not to solve a problem. What we're trying here is to help give perspective and meaning in situations which can be challenging. In this sense, I come to you as a friend to friends, a brother to brother, a brother to sisters. I want to share with you a few perspectives and a few insights. Number one, it is critical. It is so important for a single parent to understand and acknowledge the challenge of the situation. And that's why it's extremely important for a single parent to nurture themselves. You have to take care of yourself because you need all the stamina and strength and energy in order to be able to navigate your life as successfully, as serenely, as happily as possible. This is not luxury. This is not self-indulgence. This is not selfishness. It's allowing your home to be as stable and as wholesome and as happy and as positive as possible. It's so important that single moms, single dads take care of themselves, whether it's eating healthy, sleeping well, exercising, nurturing your body, nurturing your psyche, nurturing your mind, nurturing your physical self, your emotional self, and your spiritual self. Everybody knows what that means in their life. If you don't know what it means, you should find out what it means. Maybe it means waking up early, an extra half an hour, so you have time for yourself to daven, to learn, to exercise, to take a walk, to meditate. Each person in their own way, what it means for you. But this is of vital importance. When you treat yourself with dignity, you give yourself the energy to be able to handle whatever comes during the day with more effectiveness and more efficiency. Don't see this as an extracurricular activity when your boy or your girl or your boys or girls are asleep and you'll have a moment for yourself, then maybe you'll worry about it. No, you want to operate from a place of inner strength, of inner vitality. And therefore, taking care of your neshama and your guf is of critical importance. You must do this. This is a priority, absolutely. And figure out how to do it, because everything changes when you're operating from a place of inner stamina, vitality, and health. That's number one. Number two, and here I want to speak for a moment about perspective. And the way I'm going to present it is, everybody knows the famous Gemara. The Gemara says in Maseches Shabbos, "L'kula alma b'Shabbos nitna Torah." Everyone holds that the Torah was given on Shabbos, which everybody holds. Yeah. Not everybody agrees on the day that the Torah was given. There's a huge argument. Rabbi YY says it was on the 7th of Sivan. Chachamim say it was on the 6th of Sivan. Imagine, we Jews argue about a lot, including the day the Torah was given. But everyone holds. Whatever day in the month it was, we know what day in the week it was. It was on Shabbos. Somehow this point is not subject to argument. It's not put up for debate. Everybody agrees. Why is this so crucial? That the day of Shabbos is the day that the Torah was given. The answer to this is, I want to share with you a very powerful answer to this. The definition of Shabbos is menucha. The definition of Shabbos is rest, serenity, tranquility. Torah was given on Shabbos because the ultimate function of Torah is to introduce Shabbos into a person's life 7 days a week. What is tranquility? What does serenity mean? We sometimes look at serenity as a life that's stress-free, anxiety-free. I can just chill out and relax forever. Now, no question, we all enjoy moments when we can just relax and be comfortable. We don't have stress on our mind and stress in our heart. We don't have to run here and run there, etc. That is absolutely true. However, what is also true is that life often does not afford us that type of existence where there's no stress and no responsibility and nothing bothering me and no duties and nothing thinning on my chest and not a bunch of things to take care of. Once in a while we have those moments, and great, we should cherish it. But life doesn't afford us all that. And therefore, what we really need is a different type of serenity. I have to cultivate a serenity where I learn that despite the vicissitudes of my life, there is an inner core of relaxation that remains. I'm connected to something internally very wholesome, that despite the fact that there are ups and downs and fluctuations and life is a roller coaster, nonetheless, I have an inner serenity that comes from a particular cause, a particular force, a particular source. What is it? It's the following knowledge. It's the conviction and the awareness, and I want you to try to internalize this in your life, that I may be confronting a situation that is not easy, but I am not a victim. I am not a loser. I am not a carbon, a sacrifice that was sacrificed on the altar of the world, and I'm from the few unlucky, miserable ones who has to deal with misery. That idea, which often comes into our mind, is usually from the Yetzer Hara, from the negative inclination, which tries to get me down and depressed and melancholy and full of despair. My attitude has to be, yes, I am in a situation where there are quite a few questions, uncertainties, challenges, difficulties, but I was sent here. I was sent here by the creator of the world, who sent my soul to this world with a unique mission. And no two souls have the same mission, and that's why no two people have the same life. And my mission is to bring light into a particular place of the world, which may be very dark. And my mission is to bring light into that place. Now, I may not understand why I was given that mission. I may be often frustrated about the mission. I may have been given a very difficult and painful mission. Emissaries, soldiers are sometimes sent to difficult battlefields. You can't compare a soldier standing on the border of two peaceful countries to a soldier that was sent in June 1944 to Normandy. But the focus of the soldier is not to ask, why is there such a battle? And why were there casualties? The focus of the soldier is, I was sent here as a soldier, and I have a mission to fulfill, and I have the resources to fulfill the mission, because if I wouldn't have had the resources, I wouldn't have been sent on this mission. We often compare our lives to other people. It's a very common human trait, but it's a very profound error. Never compare your life to another person. You know why? You don't have their shlichus, you don't have their mission, you don't have their soul, you don't have their body, you don't have their circumstances. God doesn't want from you the same thing. As Rabbi Vigla said before, Zusha has to be Zusha. You have your music to play and your unique light to bring to the world. And as hard as it is to imagine, every one of us, all the circumstances of our lives, our past and our present, the homes we grew up in, the type of parents we had, the psychological and emotional and physical and social and financial and academic and spiritual challenges we have, the difficult marriages that we had, and the situation we're in now, are never here to break us and destroy us. Rather, they are the circumstances which create the backdrop and the props where our soul's mission in this world happens. You might say, Rabbi YY, please, you don't know about my life. Let me tell you about my life. And I say to you, my dearest friends, I don't know about your life. And my heart goes out to every person who struggles. And I know some of you do not have easy lots, and none of you have easy lots, everybody differently. But I say to you, it's your choice, it's our choice, it's everybody's choice to wake up in the morning and say one of two things. Option one is, I'm a nebach, I'm a victim. Option two is, I was sent on a mission. Yes, my mission includes this situation, raising these children or this child, being in this moment in life. And I turn to my creator and I say, I will fulfill my mission to the best of my ability today, hour by hour, minute by minute, day by day. This doesn't mean you should not try to enhance your life. We always should try to make our lives easier, more comfortable, more manageable, more successful. Of course, we always try to do that. When you're not feeling good, you want to feel better. Everybody should do that. That's important. But it means that those situations that I am given, and I can't just go away from it or ignore it and make believe it doesn't exist. I have to be able to have the inner fortitude of knowing that this is all part of my life's purpose, and I shouldn't just sit and look at myself as a Nebuch case and just melt away in self-pity and self-compassion as a person who was so deprived of all the joy in life. So much of life has to do with attitude. It has to do with perspective. So much of it. We can look at life and lament the tragedies. We can also look at life and say, I was sent here to bring light into this situation. I'm going to contrast two situations to you, my dearest friends. Adam HaRishon was in Gan Eden. He had everything. Hashem told him, why do you eat from the tree? He said, the wife you have given me is guilty. Chazal say, kan kafar b'tova. At this moment, he represented the ultimate ungratefulness. God gives him a spouse, and he says, she is to blame for all my problems. She is the one who destroyed my life. All he can do is blame his spouse for his mistake of eating from the tree. Sounds familiar? That's what Adam does. And God says, but I gave you everything. He says, I know, but my wife, she ruined it for me. And he denied basically all the good that God has given him. Contrast that to somebody else. There were Jews in the camps who would wake up in the morning and they would say brachas. They would thank God for the ability to walk, the ability to breathe, the ability to move. They had nothing, but they found something to be thankful for. You can be in paradise and be ungrateful. Others were in the purgatory and they found something to be grateful for. Most of us are not in paradise, and thank God not in the death camps. Our lives are somewhere in between. And so much of life has to do with my attitude. What do I look at? Do I focus on that which I can be grateful for and accentuate it? Or do I focus on that which I could be miserable for and accentuate it? And this doesn't mean there's nothing to be miserable for. There is. But the question is, what do I want to live with? How do I see myself? Here we come to the reason why Torah was given on Shabbos. Torah is the Shabbos of the world. What's the purpose of Torah? What's the ultimate purpose of Torah? It's not just a book of laws or history or rituals. Torah is much more than that. Torah is the compass that allows a person to know and live with purpose every single moment. Torah teaches me that God is with me every single moment and that every detail of my life is part of a meaningful mission of my soul. And therefore, at every single moment, I have the power and the resources to fulfill my mission in the best possible way. And that's what I want to focus on. And whatever situation comes up, I ask not why my life is so miserable. I ask a different question. And that is, what can I learn from this? How do I grow from this? What is my calling at this moment? This creates not a life that's stress-free, but it creates a life that's filled with positivity and purpose at every moment. And that's what brings an inner satisfaction and joy. Not the joy that everything is dandy, but the joy of knowing that I'm in the right place, in the right time, and I'm doing the right thing. The joy of knowing that I am not surrendering to despair and mediocrity, but I am rising up to the challenge, flexing my spiritual muscles, and fulfilling the calling of Hashem for me at this moment as a single parent. What is that calling at any moment? That depends on the moment, depends on the circumstances. And the calling yesterday may not be the calling today. Torah is the ultimate Shabbos of existence. A Jew who lives with Torah is a Jew who lives with an inner relationship with the divine. It means that despite the fact that my day could be very, very chaotic, especially in Corona, where we're quarantined and there's no school and everything changed. And if my economic situation was dire before Corona, now it may be more dire. My kid may be bored, may be climbing the walls, there may be tension in the house, there's no two parents to help out. Things get so difficult on the outside. And yet, is it possible for me to go to the vortex, to the eye of the storm, to the whirlwind, to that essential eye of the storm where it's calm? That's the key of life. That's the gift of Shabbos, and it's the gift of green light, yellow light. Real Torah is a relationship with the eye of the storm, that inside, in my deepest place, there's a calmness, there's a serenity, there's a tranquility. Not because my life is perfect, but because I have an inner resilience and an inner resolve and an inner courage and strength, knowing that I'm not a victim. I'm a shliach of the Ribbono Shel Olam, who placed me here with all the resources I need to fulfill a particular mission here. Why me? I don't know. Why here? I don't know. Why these circumstances? I don't know. But I learned from Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, thrown into prison, 12 years. And when he emerged as prime minister of Egypt and he met his brothers 22 years later, he said, I'm not depressed. I'm not angry. I'm not furious. I'm a happy person. You know why? You didn't sell me. Hashem sent me. He sent me on a very strange mission. Pit, slavery, prison, prime minister of Egypt. OMG, as your kids write in their text messages. OMG. But a mission. You didn't sell me. I'm not a victim of your viciousness. I'm not a victim of your maliciousness. I'm not a victim of your cruelty. No. You did what you got to do and you got to fix it. You need your help. I'm not a victim. I'm a shliach. I'm an ambassador of God. I'm his representative in the world. He sent me. And you know why he sent me? He sent me to bring the life to the world. Because of me, the entire country and all of the regions around Egypt, the Fertile Crescent, was saved from a devastating famine. Now I see why he sent me here. Does everybody see it as clearly as Yosef afterwards? No. But Yosef saw it even before he can see the end of the story. He appreciated that. And the same is true in each one of our lives. I can't control other people. I can't control my circumstances. I want to try to change my circumstances. Always. You want to be as comfortable and as happy as you can. But I could always choose to live in a place of inner wholesomeness or of outer chaos. Inner wholesomeness or outer chaos. What's the change? What's the difference? It's how I wake up in the morning. It's what I do in the morning. It's what I'm connect with. It's what I learn, how I study. Do I have a relationship with my soul, with my inner soul? Do you know what that means? It's so important. You have a real relationship with God. You have a relationship with real friends. Are you learning every day material that can help you align yourself with this dimension of self? That will make all the difference. Let's go to another point, another few points I'm going to make. You have to be able to have compassion for yourself. Self-pity is not the best strategy in life, but to have compassion for yourself is important. In other words, lots of things come up. Lots of emotions come up. Don't judge them. Make space for them. Have compassion for them. You've been through a lot. You are going through a lot. Don't judge everything that's happening in you. You have to treat yourself with tender love and care. Yeah, you're not a victim. You're a leader. You're a powerful person. You're a hero. You're a great human being. But don't judge yourself. Don't feel you have to repress your emotions. Don't feel guilty. For feeling guilty and for so many other things that people feel guilty for. Cut yourself some slack. Realize there are difficulties, there are painful situations, there are conflicting emotions. It's fine. Have compassion. Next point. Next point is, don't be afraid of complimenting yourself. And I'll tell you what I mean. The most, how do we say this? The greatest reward for good parenting is, of course, results. But sometimes we can't see results, or we don't see results right away. And it's very important to know that a major reward of good parenting is knowing that you did the right thing as a parent. That in itself is very, very powerful. Ultimately, I can control my child. I can educate my child. I can be there for my child. I can try to help my child. I can hold my child's hand. I can discipline my child when appropriate. I can be there with my child. But I cannot live my child's life. I can't. My child has to live my child's life. At the end of the day, I have to be able to look in the mirror and say, I was a good parent. I did what I was supposed to do to the best of my ability. And you have to remember, your child is not your child, it's Hashem's child. Each one of our children is given to us as a pikadon, as a gift, as a diamond. And we are given the responsibility and the privilege to polish the diamond, to nurture the diamond, to develop the diamond, to refine the diamond, so that the diamond can shine its brilliant, dazzling light on the world. But I can't be that diamond. I can't live that diamond's life. And you have to be able to look at yourself and say, I'm behaving like a good parent. That's very important, because sometimes your child, as he or she gets older, might make choices and they're painful. Don't fall into despair. Don't detach from your child. Don't run away to China emotionally. I know you're not running to China now physically, even though it may be pretty safe there. But don't run away emotionally. Remain present and know he's Hashem's child. She's Hashem's child. My job is not to be my child, not to live my child's life. My job is to try to be the best parent I can be. And that's rewarding. Which brings me to the next point. Our children have lots of emotions. All children have lots of emotions. Certainly a child growing up with a single parent, there's a lot of emotions. Those emotions have to be allowed to be expressed. I can't cut somebody's emotions. I can't tell you, you can't feel like this. You can't have an attitude like this. You know, I was once dealing with a parent. Their teenage child was having this attitude, as we say. And the father was saying, you know, why does he have this attitude? And the mother said something very powerful. You can't judge people's attitudes. If I'm having an emotion, I'm having an emotion. You can help people discipline their behavior. You may be feeling pain inside, but this is how you behave. This is how you speak. This is how you don't behave. This is how you don't speak. We have to give place for people's emotions. Don't be terrified from people's attitudes and people's emotions. It's just an expression of what they're feeling. It's not a judgment of you. Sometimes we have this intolerance to other people's emotions and we have to stifle them. Don't. It's just about their experience of life. Imagine a friend of yours calls you and tells you about her feelings. You don't feel the need to tell her, oh, why you're having this feeling. You can empathize with it because you're not blaming yourself. But sometimes when it's somebody close in our family, we blame ourselves, and therefore we feel the need to knock it down, to crush it and to repress it. But we really don't have to do that. And the more you could become comfortable with your own emotions, you can be comfortable with your child's emotions. But if we were told as children maybe that we're not allowed to have emotions, so then maybe it's hard for us to tolerate and see and experience and appreciate emotions in other people. Don't be afraid, not of your own emotions and not of your children's emotions. And this is such a powerful lesson in life. There is no emotion within yourself that you ever have to be afraid of. It may be a difficult emotion. It may be an emotion that triggers a lot of trauma. You don't have to be afraid of any emotion inside of you. You are bigger than all of your emotions. You can contain your emotions, and therefore you don't have to be afraid of an emotion of your child. Which brings me to the next point, and that is, sometimes our children create challenges for us that are very profound. Never, ever run away from your child. Never detach emotionally. There may be scars, there may be disappointments, but don't stop loving that child. That child needs you more, not less. Despite the pain, despite the difficulty, remain connected to each of your children. I know sometimes it's hard. There's a voice in me or a voice in you that says, I can't deal with this kid anymore. I can't deal with her. I can't deal with them. Let me go to my bedroom, lock the door, do whatever you want. That's a normal voice. It's a normal emotion. But now is the time where you have to ask yourself, what is my innermost value? To be close to this child or far from this child? The reason you are in so much pain is because you want to be so close to this child. So don't allow this voice that is telling you to detach because of the pain to control your life where you actually detach from the child. Listen to the voice, watch it, and remember that it's just telling you and making you aware of how deeply you want this relationship and how disappointing it is. And therefore, the solution is not to actually run away and detach. The solution is to be able to take a deep breath. Maybe you need some time alone. But do not say things or do things that will sever the cord between you and your child. That is a no-no. Don't allow the pain to cause you to separate from your child, which brings me to another point, and that is, and I know it's said and said again, but I'm going to say it again. All of you have deep pain. Life has not been rosy. The divorce may have been difficult. Your ex may still be making problems. Even if not, there are difficult memories. There are difficult situations. It's not easy to raise a child alone. You may be angry. You may be angry at yourself, at your ex, at your old mother, your former mother-in-law, your former father-in-law, former brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law. You may be angry at the rabbi, at the community, at the bezdin, at the rebbitzin, at the therapist, at the other therapist. You may be angry at certain children who made certain choices to be close to their mother, to be close to their father, to go there for Pesach, to go here for Pesach. You may be angry at the creator of the world. You may be very angry at yourself. It's important to be aware of all this. It's important to talk about it with the right people. It's important to figure out what is going on in your life. But it's also important not to allow these scars and wounds to dictate your daily choices. Don't make choices based on your inner pain that you're trying to somehow avoid or distract or eliminate by making these choices, which may be detrimental to what you really, really, really want. We have all seen the situations where we use our children as missiles in our animosity towards our ex. But that's not what a parent really wants. The last thing I really want is that 9-year-old boy or 12-year-old girl should be employed as a missile against my ex. That's the last thing I want. The last thing I want is that my daily decisions should be defined by my inner negativity and animosity. Of course, the negativity is there and the animosity is there. And we can't judge it, and we have to work with it and see what it's about and see how we can help it. But you want to make sure that your choices, our choices, are made from your innermost authenticity, your innermost values, your innermost purity, or the part of you that is divine and infinite and invincible and indestructible and confident. Not from the part of you that is traumatized, that is insecure, that is filled with toxicity, that is filled with animosity. And we all have both parts, and they're both parts of our life. And we don't have to be scared of any part of it, but we have to be able to make choices every day how we're going to live. Finally, don't be afraid of being fully present in your child's life in terms of love and in terms of discipline. Sometimes the best thing I can do for my child is say no. Many of us are afraid of discipline because we have seen it in toxic, horrible ways, and we run away to the other extreme. But we shouldn't run away to the other extreme, because just like children who grow up without love are deprived of the most important quality in a home, children who grow up without any discipline are also deprived of a very important quality in home. I'll give you a very simple example. I once went to an amusement park with one of my children, and we went on this very scary roller coaster that goes upside down like I don't know, many times. And I was frightened. Okay. So like a good Jew, you know what I do, right? We sit down on the roller coaster and I put on my seatbelt. And what am I thinking? You know what I'm thinking, right? It's for sure not closed well. And when we go upside down, it's going to open up. And you know what happens next? So what am I doing? I'm pulling the seatbelt, right? Trying to see that it's, make sure to see if it's broken. And I'm like separating the seatbelt, both parts, both sides from each other, hardest I can. Poor seatbelt. If it wasn't broken, I was going to break it. Until finally the person who's coming by each seat, each row in the roller coaster to check, and I'm of course certain that he's going to skip me because Mazel or Murphy's Law, and then he finally stops. And I ask him to scrutinize and investigate and do Sheva Chikiris and Sheva B'dikis to make sure that my seatbelt is fastened tightly. And then I can begin the journey on the roller coaster, still frightened, but at least knowing that my seatbelt is holding me tightly. Now, if you watched me from afar, what am I doing? I'm trying to get rid of the seatbelt, right? I'm pulling out the seatbelt, unlocking it. Anybody would say this guy wants the seatbelt not to hold him. He wants to be free. The truth is the opposite. I'm doing it just to make sure that it's really, really good. The same is true with children. They're often challenging every seatbelt. And you know why? They really want to know that there is a solid parent there. And don't be insecure. When you are disciplining from a place of love and wholesomeness and knowing what is good for the child, you be secure. Don't get flustered by that child opening the seatbelt and saying, no, I want to get out of this. I want to be free. No, he's just trying to test it. Now, as always, you have to know the circumstances and the situation. Is this discipline sound? Is it what the child needs? Is it coming from a place of inner wholesomeness? Is this good for the child? Is the child in a situation where he or she is so broken and so, I don't want to say messed up, but in such a difficult situation where you need a completely different model? That's possible. That's possible. And you have to know every situation individually. But I'm speaking from a general perspective. A healthy home has tons of love, and a healthy home also has good structure and good discipline. And you have no reason to be embarrassed and to be ashamed and to be flustered. Again, it's not always easy because you have circumstances that are not simple. One parent here, one parent there, different personalities, different messages. And that is part of the challenge. But don't be afraid to create an environment of a solid foundation that your child could walk on and know that the floor here is not wobbly and shaky. My dearest friends, dear brothers and sisters, these are some thoughts I wanted to share with you and just conclude with this last thought as we go to questions. And that is unique to this time of the coronavirus. With the corona keeping us quarantined already for 2 months, more than 2 months, there are a lot of challenges. Boredom, anxiety, fear, tragedy, illness, no school or different types of schools, arguments between the parents who are divorced. And it's important to acknowledge all of this. But I want to add one more perspective, and that's this. Like I said before, there are no circumstances in life that are just a mistake, excuse me. It's all part of a mission. God wanted each and every one of us quarantined in our homes for 2 months to be able to click restart on our life, to be able to retreat back to our essence and press restart, to be able to figure out our priorities, to be able to spend more time with our family without distractions, to be able to face our adversity, our struggles, our dilemmas with more clarity. Let's face it, there was nowhere to run. I couldn't escape here, escape there. Some of us were compelled to remain with the same child or children for a very long time in the house. which makes it so much more difficult. But it also gives us an opportunity to identify what is going on, to identify the struggles, to identify the disagreements, to identify the anxiety that I'm having, to look for the reasons of for the reason of that anxiety, to be able to really tune in to the foundations of our relationships with ourselves, our relationships with our loved ones, our relationships, of course, with our children, our relationships, of course, with Hashem, our relationships with anybody in our life. Let's seize this opportunity. I know it was not easy, and it's not easy, but let's still seize the opportunity, because whatever is not easy, whatever challenges us, is always an opportunity to discover a deeper self. Sometimes we turn to God and we say, can't you just get rid of these circumstances in my life? Just change them. And we fail to realize that those circumstances were put there to change us, to change me. That's humbling. It's not easy for me to change. I don't want to change. There is resistance. But I should rise up to the challenge, because when I do have the courage to change me, I'll become not only a happier person, and not only a broader person, and not only a more loving and accepting person, and not only a more serene person, but most importantly, I'm going to become the best version of myself. I'm going to become the person whom God wants me to be, the person who Hashem imagined in his mind when he created my soul and your soul. Who is that person? That's the person I'm going to become. For this, I have to be open to mystery. I have to be open to growth. I have to be open to challenge. I have to be open to inquisitiveness. And I have to be open to the possibilities and opportunities to go out of my comfort zone. And remember that which really challenges me in a deep place, and I'm like, oh, get me out of this situation. My heart is filled with butterflies and anxiety. If I could stay there and I could tune in and I can open myself up to the opportunity, maybe it's here and right here where you and I will be reborn and we'll be able to become the people that we're supposed to become. And I bless you, my dearest friends, that you and I and all of us seize the moment, carpe diem, seize the day, and really utilize this challenging time of quarantine, hopefully coming to the end of it soon, who knows, to really become the best version of ourselves. Thank you very, very much, my dear friends. And I'm going to go to questions. As I said, you can put them on chat, or if you want, you can also ask your questions on the yeshiva.net. theyeshiva.net. You can go to the first video by my extended family. You'll see the video and you have there ask the question. So those of you who are on Zoom, you could put your question in chat. Those of you who are on the web, you can go to theyeshiva.net. You'll see the first video is about single parenting during Corona, and you can ask your question there. I'm going to try to go through all of the questions. Here we go. Okay, let me just move up the volume here in case somebody. Okay, I'm first gonna take the questions that were sent earlier before the lecture, and then I'm going to take the questions that are coming in right now. I see our chat has quite a few questions. There's also questions on the yeshiva.net, so I'm going to try, Be'ezer Hashem, to go to as many questions as I can. Let me go to the first questions that came in earlier. My friends, okay, here we go. I'm going to try to be brief to the best of my ability so that we could cover as many questions as we can. How can I help my kid who is an only child and is feeling really alone? Wow. It's a great, great question. And I want to answer it on two levels. Okay. First of all, there might be elements here that deserve the good guidance of a therapist. And this is not true about your question, it's true about all the questions that are coming in. I am sure there may be elements that warrant guidance from a good professional top therapist. And I know that my extended family, the organization which brought us all together, one of its invaluable services to help families with single parents to find good and appropriate therapists for parents or children or both of them in order to navigate different situations. And I do suggest to try to seize the opportunity, if necessary, to be able to find somebody. And remember, with a therapist, it's like a shidduch. It doesn't have to work. Some therapists are brilliant. Some therapists are fine. Some therapists are not so good. You have to make sure it's working. If the therapist is not helping you in your life, it's time to move on. You know, be an educated consumer. So that's the first thing I want to mention. Now, in terms of the question itself, I want to speak about it from a general point of view and then from a specific point of view. From a general point of view, how can I help my kid who's an only child really feeling alone? The question I want to ask you is, are you also feeling alone? You may be also feeling alone. How do you help yourself feel alone when you feel alone? Are you helping yourself feel alone? Very often our children are projecting something they're feeling from their parents, consciously or unconsciously, maybe unconsciously, but are you feeling alone? And how do you deal with it? And my suggestion would be, look into yourself, because if you have a method to deal with it, you can probably communicate that to your child, age appropriate. And perhaps the deepest way of confronting loneliness is by realizing that I am not a victim of random mistakes or malicious mistakes of other people or of my own. Rather, I am the light of Hashem in this world. At every single moment, I have an opportunity to radiate that light. And when you realize that, you know that you're not alone. You're together with Hashem at every single moment, and you're given all the resources you need. And the same is true with our children. Every child has the resources he or she needs to be able to turn their life into a success story according to their circumstances. So try to work on your aloneness, and maybe you can speak about this with your child. Now, from a more technical and practical and utilitarian point of view, let's also think about creative things. Maybe it's a good time for your child to learn a musical instrument. Maybe it's a good time for your child to master some books that he's never had a chance to read. Maybe he has a great interest in history. Maybe he wants to experiment with art. Maybe he could have an opportunity to make a new chavrusa through the telephone or through Zoom or whatever method it is, and enhance his learning or enhance his knowledge. Maybe he could communicate with other family members more often. Maybe some friends. Let's try to be as creative as possible. Maybe an exercise routine with mommy or tati. Can you please address the following question? Coping as a single parent of one child, age 8, in our new normal. I am the sole provider financially. My ex isn't in the picture. I'm no longer just mom and dad to my son. I'm now his only playmate, teacher. My job became more demanding during these times, even though I'm working from home. It's just the two of us, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's getting harder and harder. Yeah. Wow, this is very difficult. And what I could say to you is, don't look for comfort and success. Look for meaning every day. Meaning, pun intended. When you wake up in the morning, don't ask yourself how I can turn my life into the most comfortable, successful story. Ask yourself a different question. What is the mission that Hashem wants from me today? And let me try to fulfill that mission. One day at a time. What is my mission? How can I be the best? I don't know if it's mom or dad, you didn't mention, but let's say mom. How can I be the best mom possible today? What's my mission? Okay. I'm a mom. I'm a playmate. I'm a teacher. I'm a friend. We're going to play together. We're going to have fun together. I also have a job. Don't put the burden of figuring out everything on your head. It's too much for you. Remember, you're a soldier. Just somebody sent you. You're in his army. He's the commander-in-chief. Tell the commander-in-chief, you sent me here. I know this is a difficult front. This is a difficult battle. You gave me the resources. God gave you all the resources. Now help me fulfill my mission today. Live in the present moment, and it will become, I think, much easier, and you will even find it perhaps fulfilling. In order to do this, you have to spend some time with yourself in the morning before your child wakes up, to connect to your deepest soul, to your identity as an ambassador of the divine in order to be able to navigate this. I have a special needs kid who hasn't seen his father since the pandemic started. Every time I text my ex that our son wants to see him and go for Shabbos, my ex either ignores the message or uses Corona as an excuse not to see him. How do I explain to my younger child why his father won't take him for Shabbos again without making his father look bad? Baruch Hashem, he's healthy and COVID-19 has not affected him. I don't know about the relationship between him and your ex and the level of communication between you and your ex. And I don't know exactly what your ex is thinking. You say he's ignoring all the messages or using Corona as an excuse. But perhaps you can explain to your child what his father is saying. I don't think you're the one who has to investigate the motives of the father. You could say the father is saying that because of Corona, maybe he's very scared to be exposed to anybody. Maybe he just wants to be quarantined. Maybe he's afraid that he has it and he could shed it and he can give it to you. You know, you could say that. Maybe, so you could just quote the father. Maybe he's having maybe it's a difficult time for him. Maybe he's just, you know, in a difficult state. Maybe some friends of his has suffered and he's not taking it easily and he's just going through a difficult time. I mean, that's what it seems this man is telling you. It is a very difficult situation. It is a very difficult situation. And I think it's so important to tell your son that, you know, whatever he needs, you're here for him. And let's just make it the best situation possible. Now, another question is, what his father is thinking, why he really doesn't want to see his son. I don't know how to respond to that. I don't know. Is there somebody who can have some influence on him? What is really going on? Why doesn't he want to meet up his son, even for a Shabbos? What is going on? But I don't know the answer to that. One of my boys went to the ex at the beginning of the pandemic. My ex coerced him into it. And since then, my ex doesn't allow him to come back home. How do I cope with this tremendous longing to see my son and have him come home? Whoa. Oh my God, I don't know. You see the two questions? One mother is asking, why can't I send my son to the ex so he could be with his father for Shabbos? Another one is, how do I get him home from the ex? I don't know, is there an agreement? Is he violating an agreement here? Why wouldn't he let your son come home? Are we dealing with a normal, responsible person? Is he a mensch? I can't estimate enough. I can't state enough, overstate how important the answer to this question is. I mean, if his father is a basic mensch, I mean, what is the agreement? Why is he keeping him home all this time? I mean, what is he worried about? How do I cope with this tremendous longing to see my son and have him come home? I don't know, why is he not coming home? I mean, if the father is really just behaving in a very inappropriate way, then, you know, I can express my deepest empathy, but we could never change another person. We can only change ourselves and change our attitudes and pray to God and, you know, try to live in a wholesome and positive world. But my question is, you didn't mention that. So is there a way of conveying to him that you really want to see your child? And it's important to go back to the basic agreement. And if he's worried about a medical situation, so you could consult confident and professional doctors who are experts in this. I mean, that's what should be done. If this guy is just manipulating the situation and he's trying to take revenge and doesn't want to share his son anymore, then you need a different type of advice. Then you need the advice of professionals. How do you go about celebrating a child's bar or bas mitzvah during this time when one parent does not acknowledge the prime caregiver as the other parent, using COVID as a good excuse to exclude from participating in the simcha? And the answer to this is, I think, very much in a similar vein. It's a difficult challenge and it's a difficult time. And we have to be there with our children and tell them that their bar mitzvah is like Adam's bar mitzvah. You know, the Mishnah says in Sanhedrin 37 that Adam was born as a single individual. It was just him and Chava together, nobody else. They were like Siamese twins to teach us that one person is the whole world. You save a person, you save the world. And the value of one person is the value of the world. You know, Adam's bar mitzvah was alone. There was nobody else at the bar mitzvah. It was him, and he was the world. And I think every child who's having a bar or bat mitzvah has to know that today. You know, the bar mitzvah, we like friends and company and all that, but it's really about you. It's you, and you are the world. And the most important person at the bar mitzvah is you and Hashem, because for you, the world was created. How do you handle a boy age 14 who's angry with God because of all the corona restrictions? Example, no school, no socializing, no family, etc. Great, great question. The question I want to now ask you is, are you also angry about this? How are you dealing with your anger? Or are you not angry? Are you at peace? And the answer to that is, I don't know. But what I would encourage you is try to look into yourself, because if you can find the answer within yourself, you'll probably be able to exude that energy to your child as well. Now, having anger is a very normal emotion. We get angry. It's a difficult time. That's fine. You don't have to be afraid of your boy's anger. What you want to be able to do is try to communicate with your child your own inner emotions, your own inner core, just by being you, by being open and authentic about you. And I think that can have a tremendous impact on your child. Maybe it would also be good for your child to talk to somebody. Maybe your child wants to speak to a rabbi or to a therapist or to somebody who can help. Should you force, or can you force your teenager to attend the Zoom classes? You can't really force. I don't think you should force a teenager to do anything, but you could strongly, strongly encourage and talk about the importance. And maybe it's important to create some incentives and try to figure out what's bothering him and create alternatives. It is extremely important not to back off, to encourage, to understand what's going on, to try to repair the situation. The word force, I don't know if it's worthwhile to force a teenager. Push, encourage, explain, persuade, remove obstacles, eliminate difficulties. Yes, absolutely. The word force, I would just be very cautious with. I lost my young husband 2 years ago. Not only am I alone with my young children, but I'm going through this insanity of corona. Also because of the many years he fought for his life in and out of hospitals. All the illness and passing of people we know is so difficult. My husband died 2 years ago in his early 40s. I have several young kids. He was fighting his illness for years, a lot of procedures, a lot of in and out of hospitals. This makes all the trauma of people suffering and passing doubly traumatic for me and my children. We're constantly driving the traumas and the pain, and our hearts are so broken for all their loved ones. Yeah, it's terrible. It's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult. Wow. So nish pashut, what should I tell you? It's not simple. It's not simple. And the only thing I could say is, you know, if I could ever be here for you and your family, I would love to be here for you and your family. And I'm so, so sorry. And it's just important to remember that there's a lot of pain in the world. And we really don't understand God's ways at all. I don't think we could understand. I don't think we have to understand. But it's so important to be able to tell yourself and tell your children that each of them has unbelievable inner resources to be able to overcome challenges and to be able to build a beautiful future for themselves. And that they simply must be aware and cognizant of who they are. They're not just, you know, Nebuch orphans floating around on this planet trying to find some comfort, but they are really ambassadors of the Ribbono Shel Olam in this world. And as his ambassadors, a shliach has the properties of the one who sends him. So at their core, they're invincible, they're indestructible, they're full of joy and confidence and power. and they are ambassadors of love and of light and of hope and of healing and of redemption. Let me go to the next questions. Wow, a lot of questions. Okay. I would like to point out to all speakers who work with families, individuals, when you give examples, it can be very often surprising, revealing, and unconfidential to whoever recognizes themselves or others in the stories. That's absolutely true. And that's why I know when I share a story, I make sure either to get permission from the person who told me the story or to camouflage many of the details. You can turn off the chime when pushing the 3 dots on the button of the participant list. Gewaldic, we need some people like you to teach us clueless rabbis how to navigate. Wow, you're the first Rav to be so honest in the over 10 years that I have been mechanech my daughter on my own. I'm impressed. Okay, tell my mother-in-law. Wish some rabbis, some Rav in the United Kingdom would be like this. I don't know what you mean. What was I honest about? In over 10 years, you haven't seen. I would love to know what you mean more specifically. He's a very smart man and says the truth, not what people want to hear, but what is needed to hear. Thank you. Thank you for the compliment. How do I deal with the blame and guilt feelings? Okay, here's the deal. Blame and guilt feelings usually come from the Yetzer Hara. What do they do to us? They make us feel that we're incompetent, incapable, horrible people, sinners, and God is going to punish us. These voices are usually not coming from the Yetzer Hara, they're coming from the Yetzer Hara. No guilt and blame feelings should be tolerated as more than a fleeting thought and feeling in your body. Don't take them seriously. The only type of guilt that is permissible is guilt that brings to a productive change and outcome. For example, I said something to my child yesterday, and it was the wrong thing. I was angry. I lost myself. I'm feeling horrible, okay? How do I know if it's the Yetzer Hara or the Yetzer Hara? The Yetzer Hara will say, go apologize. Go talk to him. I said something to my mother that was inappropriate. I said something to my brother. I said something to my sister. I said something to this one. Go apologize. Call up and say, I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. It was a weak moment. Do you forgive me? And you know what? And you move on. That's healthy guilt. It's guilt that brings to mending the situation. But the guilt and blame that's just about, look at me. I'm such a sick person. What a miserable mother. I did everything wrong. I know nothing. Why am I a parent? Why did I ever get married? Why was I born? This is coming from the Yetzer Hara. And by the way, it doesn't question you. It questions God, because God is the one who put you in this world. God is the one who put you through a lot of circumstances. So these questions of blame and guilt, not only are they not productive, but they undermine the entire situation. You have something to fix it. Do it differently tomorrow. Learn from your mistakes. That's the guilt that is Jewish. You want to know the guilt that's not Jewish? Guilt that just tells me that I'm incapable and I'm a loser and I should be miserable. Next question. What do you do if you're getting totally depressed from doing nothing all day? Maybe you want to switch with me for one day. You're getting depressed from doing nothing all day. So don't do nothing all day. Why don't you listen to my shiurim? Who said you should do nothing all day? I would also get depressed from doing nothing all day. A person is not made to do nothing all day. You should do something, at least during the day. Exercise, learn something, read a book, expand your resources in something, educate yourself in a new way. If there's a certain rabbi or rebbitzin who you love, why don't you listen to a class a day? Maybe on the treadmill. It'll enhance your knowledge, it'll inspire your soul. I agree, you shouldn't be doing nothing all day. I lost my young husband. Okay. Let's go to the next question. This is my first time to join the Jewish community on live. You must be happy because you're in the USA. I'm alone in Kurdistan, having no friends, struggling how to do this alone. strengthen your community, and be grateful for what you have there. And good luck, my friend in Kurdistan. Thank you, Rabbi YY. You can give advice and chizuk on a topic in which you don't have personal experience if you have wisdom and heart. You have both. I nurture myself. I listen to my children. I validate their feelings. I discipline inappropriate behaviors. Let's hear it for this mom. I nurture myself. I listen to my children. I validate their feelings. I discipline inappropriate behavior. Bravo. I'm living in England. I'm a Baal Tshuva. I look like a Hamisha person. I live miles away from close family. I have one daughter, age 17. I've had almost zero support since being alone for almost 10 years. I would love a break. In all this time, I went away once for a simcha overnight. She was emotionally abused by two askonim, one close friend. Now, while social distancing is getting very hard, it's also very hard as she's been home all year since Elul. She's the only girl here, her age, not accepted into seminary due to Moitzi Shemer from previous teachers or people who don't really know her situation. On top of this, her father is physically here, but has major health issues medically, emotionally, and mentally. She can't see him at all at the moment. He's not doing social distancing. He never did. He eats out every Shabbos by anybody. Any advice? Frankly, this is above my pay grade. This seems like a very complicated situation. And I think it's important for you to have a real top expert who's an expert in this field to be able to consult once a week, twice a week, maybe in the beginning 3 times a week, maybe turn to my extended family, Rabbi Vigler and his amazing organization for help if you need that, or other people. And I think you need an overall plan to be able to help handle the situation. First of all, to get the help that you need from the stress and anxiety, and to get the help that your daughter needs. What can I do? Don't be afraid to seek help from real experts. And remember, everybody, there are real experts and there are pseudo experts. You have to be an informed consumer. Yeah. Don't just listen blindly to what somebody says. If it doesn't resonate, challenge it. Because very often we need advice. But if you're a healthy person, sometimes you know things that other people won't know as a mother or as a father. So just be sensitive. Don't just follow blindly somebody's advice because they may be wrong. People are not God, even rabbis and therapists. What can you do if when you need the me time or when you aren't feeling well is exactly when the child intentionally acts out, making it impossible to care for yourself? It's a great, great question. So this is the situation. Sometimes it's an emergency that's an exception. You were planning to take a nap and suddenly your child acts out. And then you could tell yourself, let me define what my priorities are at this moment and make the right choice. If it's a pattern, then you have to figure something out, which means if every time you're making time for me, he suddenly acts out, there's something off here. Maybe he needs to be explained or she has to be explained. Mommy needs strength, mommy needs energy for mommy to make dinner, or for mommy to play Monopoly with you, or for mommy to do homework, or for mommy to play chess, or for mommy to order this on Amazon, or for mommy to work on math or on spelling or on Chumash or on Mishnayos, mommy, or whatever else you're doing, mommy needs this energy. So if it happens once in a while, yeah, this happens. And then you have to see, if you have kaiches and you could suspend your nap for an hour, delay your nap for an hour, great. If it's happening continuously, we have to get to the bottom of it. I nurture myself. I listen to my children. I validate their feelings. I discipline. I've been a single parent of a large family, Kanayan Hara, for quite a number of years. My kids are from lower elementary through few years into Beis Medrash. I've worked very hard on myself. I came a long way. Every morning I start with connecting to my inner self with the intention to be the best version of myself today, regardless of my children's reactions. Often, a few hours, it's another picture. I'm just worn so thin. The kids have so many unique, individual, and conflicting needs. I'm on all the time, often pulled in multiple directions at once. How do I feel like a soldier with a mission? Sometimes I don't find that I'm equipped. I know it's not for me to live my child's life, but I want to provide them a home conducive to health and growth. What about when children make that impossible for other children? Wow. That's a good question. That is a very good question. And the answer I would tell you is, when you feel worn out, that you can't function anymore, you have to take a break. You have to tell your children, I love you, I want to be here for you. Mommy needs now 45 minutes for a nap. And put it into the schedule. Maybe you need a little more sleep at night. Maybe you need a little more exercise. Maybe you need a little more self-nurture. It's very important to listen to your body. When your body is revolting, it means your body needs attention. Doesn't mean you're selfish. The soldier is somebody who's equipped. Equipped means Hashem gives you the resources to be who you are and to do the best job. But he also tells you, you need to take care of those resources. When you're completely spent, worn out, you must listen to your body. Don't be a martyr and a victim, because it's ultimately going to come back to bite you and to bite your children. It's not worth it. You're not doing anybody a favor. So it's important to be able to say, Atkan, these are my boundaries. Now I need to go to bed. I need to take a walk. I need to take a run. I need to go swimming after Corona. I need to go exercise in the gym. I need to go to a Pilates class. I need to do some yoga. I need to go to get some aromatherapy. I need to do some stretches. I need to go to the forest. I need to write a journal. I need to dance to music. I need to spend some time davening or learning or meditating or taking a walk. Or I just need to sleep. The best exercise, right? For Jewish mommies. I need a nap. And embrace it. Embrace it. And don't feel guilty about it. Because if your parents have a sick, dysfunctional, exhausted, spent, frustrated mother, nobody's going to be helped. Nobody's going to be helped. And remember, you can do what you can do. You can do what you can do. Be the parent that you can be. That is the purpose. The purpose is, I could tell myself, I'm being a good, conscientious, present, authentic, honest parent who's working on myself and not just blaming everything on my kids and on my ex. That, yeah. But after that, I'm not Superman. You're not Superwoman. In a way, I'm thankful for Corona. My daughter is like all her classmates stuck at home. Baruch Hashem, for Klal, Chazoin, Zoom. She has shiurim almost every day. Pre-Corona, she had no shiurim. Thank God. My ex lives 3 hours away, is now moving to my area. She's not married or engaged and is moving in with him very soon. It hurts me for my 7- and 8-year-old to see this. So against my hashkafa. And how do I deal with the fact that she will now be in my town, which causes so much anger, and she's moving in with a boy now against halacha? Okay. What happens so often is that when there is a divorce, one of the parties often leaves some parts of Yiddishkeit. Sometimes it's the woman, sometimes it's the man, very often it's men, but sometimes it's the other gender as well, where in the pain, in the need to disassociate, they throw out a lot of halacha. And I think it's important to have a respectful conversation with our children, age appropriate. Age appropriate means that every age is different. And ultimately, we have to realize the truth. I cannot change my ex. I cannot live for my ex. I cannot make decisions for my ex. But I can be the most powerful, amazing parent I can be. Your children have a challenge. It's not your fault. Hashem gave them a challenge. Tati is on Er L'Chiyid. Mommy chose a different path. These two kids, 7 and 8, are going to see this. Let's hope your ex makes future changes in her life. She matures, she sobers up, she deals with her own pain, and she realizes that there's a reason halacha doesn't want single men and women in the same room without marriage, not only because of some spiritual, mystical reason, but for practical reasons. Because when you create a relationship that is sensitive to boundaries and modesty, it has much more chances for longevity. But that's a separate sheet, it's a separate subject. And it's important to explain to our children that sometimes their other parent, they do certain things And ultimately, they're going to have to choose. And it's very, very painful. It's so painful. You know, I could cry when I say this, but what you can do is you can give them a solid foundation and a loving, loving, loving home that they should always want to gravitate to your house. And daven to Hashem that their neshamas will lead them in the right direction and make the right choices when the time comes. I would also suggest, since this is not my expertise, reach out to my extended family. There's probably some excellent therapists who can help people deal with explaining 7- and 8-year-old children an ex who left the path of Judaism and how to deal with it. I'm sure there's a lot of research on this and a lot of experimentation on this. Find out, because there may be some wise and instructive ideas. How can I be in touch with you? I would really appreciate to speak to you privately. Speaking is difficult, but you can email me with any questions privately, rabbiYY@theyeshiva.net, rabbiYY@theyeshiva.net. I'm the only adult in my home as a single parent, doing all the things and wearing all the hats. Every other weekend, I'm the only person in my home. For the beginning of Pesach, I was alone for 3 straight days, even digitally, Yom Tov. I still have to go out to work. And at work, we are all distant socially, despite being a pretty committed introvert and generally okay being on my own. It's hard not to get a comforting hug or have any hand held. I hug my kids, but I won't dump my emotional needs on them. Also, I'm blessed and grateful that we're all healthy. No one in our family has been severely ill or worse. I still get a paycheck. All of us in our home still like each other, more or less. I feel like I can't even really express how hard everything has been for me to others because I've seen so much worse going on for so many. I do have a therapist, but sharing with her is not the same as feeling a connection with a friend, etc. I got it. You know, I think we all have to give each other virtual hugs these days. You have been many, many days alone without digital connections, and it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. And I hope and I pray that you have at least 1 or 2 or 3 good friends that you can just share with, whether it's a parent or a sibling or an old classmate or just a friend that you have met, or maybe another single mom or dad, I don't know who you are, that you could connect with. Maybe the groups of my extended family, you can also meet people, but it's so important to have relationships and people that you could just connect with as a friend. And the times that you're alone are hard. But I'll go back to what I said before. It's so important to recognize that when you're alone, you can find yourself in unbelievable, powerful ways. I know that some of you probably, did you read my article that was going around all over the place about the Lubavitcher Rebbe's Seder on the night of Pesach? You remember, right? You saw that went around, the Rebbe doing a Seder alone? If not, if you email me, I'd like to send you that article. I think it can really help you because it taught me an unbelievable lesson in life. Every Jew that I know has a Seder with other people. I'm not talking about this year. Every Jew has somebody to go to a Seder. And then one person who had millions of admirers and disciples and was responsible to make more Siddharim in the world than anyone, maybe in history, did a Seder himself without a single soul. And it broke my heart as a Bacher. And then a few years ago, when a single mom told me about her quarantine Seder, I had a flashback and I said, the Lubavitcher Rebbe was teaching people how to be alone. Teaching people how even when you're alone, you're still with Hashem. And even when you're alone, never, ever lose your dignity. But it's still hard. Okay, next. I love that line. If it doesn't resonate, challenge it. Yes, I also love it. That's why I said it. What are the psychological implications on children whose mother abandoned them during the pandemic? How does one approach children about this? The children generally live with her, but she left them by me, their father, without even reaching out, and they have not been in touch with her for a very, very long time. Wow. I don't know. I have a few questions. First of all, is she a responsible mother? It seems like she's a normal, responsible mother. So is she sick, chas v'shalom? Is there something else going on? can the children understand what is happening? Why doesn't she want to see the children? Is it a doctor's order? Is there a crisis? Has she been dealing with a very difficult situation? The children should be explained what's going on. If Nebach, she's suffering from another issue and she is behaving in an irresponsible way, or there's a mental challenge there, then it's a whole other issue. And that has to be brought up with a top professional expert. If there's a mental illness or a breakdown or something else, but I don't know the details. I, as an aguna for many years, with no end in sight, how do I continue to explain to my children, this is what our wonderful Hashem wants for me and us? It's very hard for them to understand. You know, I live in Muncie, and right near me, literally right near me, lives an aguna for more than 10 years. More than 10 years. Her husband, in chutzpah, remarried a second woman with a heter meir rabbanim. You know, he got one of these permission slips. And she's here with children. She lives right near me. We're very close friends. Now we don't eat together because of Corona, but we're very close. I live here, and I'm speaking to you from my house, and she lives a few yards away across the street. And I look at her children and her, and they're amazing. I remember I sometimes walk with my wife down the block and we meet her and we just look at each other and say, she's just an amazing person. And all I could say to you is, I am flabbergasted, distraught, furious, angry, extremely upset and hurt by husbands and by people who utilize vulnerable situations to manipulate other people and to behave in a cruel, barbaric, and sadistic way, including, but not limited to, by avoiding giving a get. Sometimes the abuse comes from men, sometimes the abuse comes from women. I don't know the details of the story. I don't know the details of many stories, but it makes my blood boil when people who are supposed to represent Judaism and Torah, and they may go to shul 3 times a day, and yet everything they do is in defiance of everything that Judaism stands for. And they embody and represent the greatest violation and desecration of Judaism, of God, of Torah, of goodness, of kindness, and of compassion. And I have no words. My heart goes out for you for this situation. And I have no words, but what I will say to you is, I have no way of explaining God's plan. Trust me, I am not from those people who understand God's plan. But what I will tell you is, I will not agree to a statement that you are, chas v'shalom, a loser and a victim. Now, it seems like you are a victim, and I still want to believe with every fiber of my being that at the core of your soul, you have unbelievable strength and unbelievable resources. I don't know why God put you in this situation. I don't know why you had to bring in light into this darkness. What I will refuse to believe is that you are just Chalila, a loser, and your life is considered one big chaotic, helpless mess. That notion is just, I don't know, I'm allergic to that notion with every fiber of my being. I simply does not resonate with me. It resonates with me that God is suffering with you. You are a divine ambassador. You're a piece of Hashem in this world, and Hashem is working something through in a very deep, dark place through you. And when you wake up in the morning, ask yourself and turn to Hashem and ask your soul, what is my mission today? And I'm going to fulfill it to the best of my ability. And tell your children that, listen, the resilience they have is incredible. And I'm going to suggest one thing. I hope and pray that this madness is over soon, that you get your get so you could move on in your life. But I want to tell you and your children one thing. When this madness is over, there will be nobody in the world who will be able to empathize with people who are going through difficult situations like you and your children. And you will become the greatest ambassadors and spokeswomen or men for justice. That's what I see. I see in you and your children leaders who might change the world by knowing like nobody else the pain of what you're going through. Is this a justification? No. Is this a rationalization? No. Does it make me understand why? No, it does not. And my heart goes out, and if I could be here for you or your children in any way, I will be. And I'm giving you my email again, Rabbi YY at theyeshiva.net. However, I do want to say to you that it's important to seek all help that you can get from any possible source. Don't be embarrassed. And it's important for you to always remember that at your core, no ruthless, sick man who is behaving like a cruel animal has the power to destroy your light. I refuse to believe that. How do I deal with the fact that my ex, living with a guy unmarried, is moving to my town? I will be bumping into her. I moved down. I'm happily married. I don't want her to interfere. Okay, listen, you're not going to be meeting her every day. If you happen to walk by on the street and she's there, there's nothing wrong with giving a nod, but you're not moving into the same house. You're not eating Shabbos together. You're happily married. You have to have the right boundaries. And maybe she's not going to interfere. Why do you think she's going to interfere? Just because she's living in the neighborhood? Of course, you have to have a considerable agreement, a normal, a civil agreement, how to deal with custody. I don't know what your agreement is, but maybe she won't interfere. If she's busy with this new guy, she may leave you alone. So I wouldn't worry about that. If you need to make more boundaries, you'll make more boundaries. I'm noticing that my very sensitive son is embodying a depressive state due to lack of live human social contact. He's disengaged from both spiritual practice and these awful passive listening classes. I would love to hear any ideas you might have. I'm the only parent at this time. I'm feeling overwhelmed by inability to work and feel connected to my community during these times. Thank you for your wisdom and your generous spirit. Much esteem and many blessings. Okay. The answer to your question is it's extremely, extremely important for your child to be engaged with people. Can he have Zoom chats? Can he speak to people by telephone, by FaceTime, friends, family, cousins, relatives? Reach out. Maybe you can get a chavrusa. Maybe unofficially, I don't know the situation, maybe unofficially, you could pay somebody a couple of dollars to learn with him, to play with him, to do something with him on the phone, on Zoom. There's a lot going on Zoom these days. Try to engage people. Try to engage them with people. This is very, very important. Again, today with the internet, is there a rabbi or anybody that he likes? Maybe there's somebody online that he would appreciate in Israel, in America. It could be a psychologist, it could be a professor, it could be a rabbi, it could be a rebbitzin, it could be a scientist. There's so much out there. I don't know what type of head he is, what type of head he's in, what he's interested in. Does he love animals? There's so much he could watch about animals. Does he love physics? Does he love science? Does he love deep Judaism? Does he love spirituality? Maybe he loves Chassidus. Maybe he loves Gemara. Maybe he loves Tanakh. There's so much out there. Maybe get him involved. Open him up to the wealth of Torah and wisdom and knowledge that's out there. Obviously, appropriate wisdom and knowledge that's out there. In terms of your own help, in terms of your own being overwhelmed, I think it's extremely, extremely important for you, as I said earlier, not to focus on success, but to focus on what my mission is today. And try to listen to the beginning of the lecture because I think there were some good ideas for you there. Okay, let's take the last few questions. A lot of questions came in here. People sent in a lot of questions through chat. And now I'm checking the questions that came in here through the email. Rabbi Vigler, somebody's writing to me that they sent some emails to you guys. So maybe you want to post it on chat. Somebody over here at the end of chat, they say that they, you see Rabbi Vigler at the end of the chat, it says they sent a few emails to Rabbi YY. Did you send it to me privately? Did you send it to Rabbi Vigler? I don't have Ruach HaKodesh, so you have to tell me where you sent it. Oh, I see, okay. How do I handle two siblings, sibling rivalry? They can hate each other. How can I help them to get along? Okay, how to handle daughter-sibling rivalry is it's very important for each child to feel safe and to feel that they get the attention and the confidence that they need. Give them each private time. They're bullying each other, or there's a sibling rivalry because each one is missing something. If each one of them can get what they need from themselves and their mom and other people in their lives, I think it can help a tremendous amount. My dearest friends, let me just check if there's one last question, and then I'm going to, okay. My bar mitzvah, if you have a question, you could put it on the chat on Zoom or on the yeshiva.net video page. That's the two places we're looking at. I can't look everywhere. Those are the two places I'm looking at.
Just want to mention, Rabbi Jacobson,
that's where you
if I
can
may.
put your questions.
Rabbi
I
Jacobson.
see somebody wrote a very long comment on the yeshiva.net, a single dad who takes care of a child and gives advice based on his own experiences of how he does it. Very, very interesting email on many levels. Thank you, Reb Moshe. My bar mitzvah son missed his bar mitzvah because of corona. Father is not well and not involved. My son is struggling. What do you suggest? He's struggling religiously and he's struggling emotionally. Okay. I believe Rabbi Vigler announced earlier that my extended family has maybe good resources for this, because what I would suggest is your son needs some good older boys to get involved with him, play basketball with him when the corona is over, play baseball with him, play football with him, go for pizza, make a chavrusa. It's important for him to have relationships that are productive, that are meaningful. And I would bring in such people into his life. Now, the fact that he missed his bar mitzvah because of corona, he didn't miss his bar mitzvah because of corona. He missed the public bar mitzvah because of corona. It's important for him and all of us to understand that the most important bar mitzvah happens inside the heart. It's between you and God. You don't need anybody there. So he didn't miss his bar mitzvah. He just missed the public celebration, and explained to him that it's an opportunity for him to find out what the bar mitzvah means to him. In terms of his struggles religiously, emotionally, it may be also worth to research if there's a good therapist that can be of help. Again, maybe my extended family can help. Another important thing is, can you engage him verbally? What's going on in his heart? What is he feeling? He may be angry, he may be pained. And the question is, as his parent, are you angry? Are you pained? Can you share that with him? Can you have an open conversation? Sometimes it's important to tell our children, you know, mommy's going through a difficult time myself. Tati's going through a difficult time himself. And share. He may not answer, but he's going to listen. You plant seeds. So I think these are different options that may prove to be very, very meaningful. And, you know, all of you should have tremendous nachas of your children, because you all deserve it. How do I handle 4 little kids when I myself need to teach on Zoom? My oldest is 16, and he's bad mouthing me all day. I guess he's bad mouthing you all day. Wow. Okay. And the answer to that is, how do you handle 4 little kids when you yourself teach on Zoom? I don't know. It's important to give your kids something to do. I think it's important. Do your kids have some Zoom experience? It's very important for your kids to have something at Zoom. If not, maybe you have to cut some of your Zoom hours. In terms of your 16-year-old bad-mouthing you all day, I don't know what's going on. Can you speak to her? Can somebody speak to her? Can a therapist speak to her? I don't know. Again, based on your advice, never to cut off from your child as he needs you most in challenging situations. How do I deal with my pain, seeing my children being ruined by my ex's new spouse in Yiddishkeit? Wow. That's tough. That's very, very tough. And what I would like to tell you about that is that I really, really cannot change my ex. Maybe, I don't know if this is possible. I don't know the relationship, the civil connection you have with your ex. Is it possible that you or somebody else brings it up with the ex and respectfully asks the ex to say, listen, you know, this child is growing up in a religious home. It's not fair for a new person who came into life and is not a biological parent to interfere with this. Is it possible to communicate that in a menschliche way? Again, with respect, maybe through somebody else. If that's possible, try that. It would be very, very helpful. If that girl could be explained, whoever your ex married, that it's really none of her business to interfere into this education, especially if her father is not doing it. You know, let them feel bad. It's not good for a child to grow up with conflicting messages. There's enough conflict. We don't have to impose more. Could somebody explain to this woman who came into life of your ex that there's no need to interfere with this child? It's just not right, you know? She doesn't have to interfere with somebody else's child who's not her child, not her natural biological child. That would be what I would try to do. If that's not possible, it's not possible. Then you have to do what you have to do and create an amazing, beautiful, loving home as much as you can. As much as you can. Lakewood doesn't do Zoom. Okay, but you could still do telephone or other things, no? And everybody in Lakewood does the same thing. There's people here from Lakewood, so not everybody in Lakewood does the same thing. But you mean the school. But I'm sure there's other things. There could be telephone, no? Or maybe there could be some exceptions in situations. What do I tell my 11-year-old son why his father doesn't call or see him? His father remarried, ran to Israel a few years ago, and has another family. He doesn't pay child support, does not call him on his birthday, does not send any gifts. That's a great question. What do you tell your son about his father? I want you to consult a top expert in this area. You can ask my extended family for references. You want a top, don't get a mediocre expert, get a top expert for this situation. When a father chooses to disconnect from his son, how do you help your 11-year-old? It's a great question, and you need to get the best advice you could on this. Next question. I have several young children. I have full custody. I'm overwhelmed. I need time for myself. I'm overworked. I can't even go food shopping with my kids. My ex has some visiting hours. When it's time to pick up the kids for a few hours, I contact him. He says, I don't have energy, his way of canceling. I end up taking it out on my kids because the little rest I thought I'd have was canceled on a whim. How do I manage this situation? Wow. Some of these exes can really be very difficult, huh? Okay. The way you manage the situation is, can you communicate to your ex and say, this is really not right? What you're communicating to me, can you communicate this to your ex and say, listen, I am overworked and overwhelmed. I really need this time. Please, please don't do this to me. If you don't have energy, then make another time. Explain it. Maybe you could send a text or an email or somebody else, but it's very important to communicate. And if he's a mensch, he'll understand this. I hope he's a mensch. I hope he's a mensch. Okay, I'm now going to turn over the mic to Rabbi Vigler. I thank you all for being here with us. I send you my love and blessings. Chazak, chazak, v'nis chazek, Rabbi Yosef Vigler.
I want to say a very special thank you and a very special Yishar Koyach to Rabbi Jacobson, and thank you everyone for joining us. I want to just point out that many of these issues that are dealt with are really, they are practical questions, they're real life questions, they are things that we all contend with and deal with, and we are here at My Extended Family to help you. I thank all the staff of My Extended Family who are here listening to the questions and understanding them. If you live in one of the 4 locations where we have a place, so please get in touch with us. We really could help in practical ways with all these issues that were dealt with. I saw some of the questions here are really things we really deal with. If you don't live in those areas, we still have, send us an email, get us on the email list, and we'll be able to help out, God willing. We do advocacy for children. We help, we are there. All we are there for is to help raise the next generation. Our motto is, our mission is, that these kids, despite all the difficult challenges, will be able to come out as special super kids that you've never, ever imagined. And I want to share with you one last little episode. You know, there was one fellow whose mother was basically in a position that, as growing up, she never had food to put on the table, and he watched his mother put on literally every month, every Yom Tov, she would call up different places. She would beg for food. She would beg for shoes for her kids, one after another. She would have to literally go around begging. And he says, I grew up and all I looked at was just my mother begging. She was a single mother. And as he grew up, this guy now, he called me up. I didn't know the guy. He called me up out of the blue. And he said to me, all I want to do is help these kids. I want people to not be in a position that I was now. And he gave, I won't say what the amount of money he gave, but he gave a tremendous, tremendous amount of money that he gave. And I was looking at it and saying, you know, that's absolutely incredible. Like, here, this guy, he's fabulously wealthy now, and all he wants is to help single parent children now. They shouldn't have to go through what he went through. And I was looking at this case and I said to him, you are the proof that every parent seated in the room here can one day have a child who will excel and will use all the adversity that you are going through now and will transform it all into the greatest success story that ever happened. I said to this guy, the very fact that you called is the greatest proof that there is hope. There is hope, and your kids are going to outshine, that you'll one day look at all these things over there, all the terrible difficulties you're going through, and you'll look at it and you'll say, aha, but my child turned out from all that to be a star. So we at My Extended Family are here to help you. Our email is family@myef.org. Check out the website, myef, as in myextendedfamily.org. And if you send us an email, family@myef.org, you'll get in our email list. And check us out on the social media, on Facebook and on Instagram. And we would love to help. And in Mitzvah Hashem, all together, we'll pull off some more events like this. All together, our goal is to raise healthy, happy kids. And to those who have questions that they felt needed more, do us a favor. I saw some of them, and we can help you out. Please email us. Thank you so much, everybody. Shkoyach Rabbi Jacobson. Shkoyach Rabbi Hausman for behind the scenes. Thank you.